Hey everybody, it's Alex Joungblood back at you with another Facebook Live here, and I've got a guest, John Harcar, with me. So it'd be really cool to talk with him and see what he's doing in the real estate space. So how are you, John?
I'm doing great, Alex, man. How are you?
Good, good. I'm
Good.
going to share this real quick, make sure it gets shared into my group, and then we'll get officially going here. All right, let's see.
Yeah, I've been a member of your group for a couple of years at least.
Has it been a couple of years? Yeah.
It's been probably a good 3-4 years. I wouldn't say.
All right. Make sure I'm officially shared that into the to the group. Cool. And let me get over here to where we were talking about here. So, all right. Yeah. So you've been in the group for a while.
Yep.
What did you meander your way into the group, or how did you end up finding it? Or
Yeah, I just ended up finding it online. My kind of introduction to real estate investing was when I was with Rebo Gateway, and people kept calling in saying, "Yeah, we got referred by Sean Terry," and I'm like, "Well, who is this guy?" At that point, we were really in the realtor space. We weren't in the investor space.
okay.
Uh, and I guess Sean was using it. I think his wife was using it when she was a realtor as well. But so I reached out to him, and then him and I did a podcast. And next thing you know, it blew up. It just exploded.
So
So
how did you get
I
into
started.
Rebo Gateway? Like, what was your background there, or how did you get started with them?
Rebo, I just found the job. I was looking for a sales job. I had run. I built sales divisions and sales and call centers for a couple of different industries. And the last one I was at just kind of went under. So I had to look for another place, and I found this company, and I kind of had a little bit of interest in real estate, not enough to really push it. And now working with Rebo, I started, learning stuff. And then as I started learning more investing, and then I started seeing all these guys cashing all these cool checks. I'm like, wait a minute. I think I know what I want to do. You know what I mean?
So, what were you doing sales wise before Rebo Gateway then?
I worked for a company called the Ding King. It
The
was automotive
Dean King.
reconditioning. Yeah, automotive reconditioning. Uh, so I did a lot of the sales department for that. We did tools and training for the reconditioning world. I worked for Source Interlink, which is the online version of like Motor Trend magazine and
Oh,
Auto Trader and some of those. So what I did is I helped capture leads for dealerships, car dealerships, people that were looking for a new car, filled out a request online, that kind of stuff. So it's been phone driven, and I just then I heard Brent Daniels at a Wholesaling Inc. event talk about TTP and phone calling. I'm like, well, I've been on the phone for 20 years. This is
now
second
this was
nature.
before Rebo Gateway or after?
After,
After. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So you joined Rebo Gateway and you were basically just selling the data. Did you have any idea of the inner workings of where they
No,
got the data and how all that
I
worked?
no idea. I know I've been a salesperson by trade. It's like give me a phone and a list and I call and learn as I go. And
Okay.
that
So
kind of
basically your job was to call other investors, or like how did you get those investor
Yeah,
leads?
well, realtors, yeah, they just pretty much gave us a list. We were only in Southern California when I started, and they just said, call all of Coldwell Banker, call all of Keller Williams, call all these different offices and let them know what we do as a lead provider, right? Because we were tracking divorce listings and probates and defaults and all these things that obviously a realtor would like to know about.
Sure.
So that's where it was, just developing those relationships, trying to do in-house presentations if we can, and then we just expanded. Went up California and then started going east.
So were you part of that expansion?
Yeah, I help launch up into Northern California. I help launch into Florida. They sent me to the coldest Chicago or coldest February in Chicago to do to do like realtor offices. So yeah, we kind of spread it all out because we grew our developed relationships with the title companies also.
Uh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
So working with Rebo, you guys were aggregating tax delinquent data, divorce data, um, um, probate,
probate.
empty nester, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
And then so you were selling this information, and I'm curious, right? So you, at that point had never done a deal, right?
No, I didn't know about it. I mean, for the first 3 years there, I didn't know about real estate investing.
So what was your pitch then to people like, like you have to identify, right? Like with your audience and stuff like that. Were you
Sure.
like, this is really good data, so give it a try. I think it's going to work for you. Or like,
Well,
did you
yeah, I
just
mean,
kind of,
it was just kind of really finding out, hey, as a realtor, or even as an investor, how are you marketing? Okay, I'm doing this, this, and this. Where are you marketing? Okay, great. What if we're able to provide a higher quality, quote unquote, customer due to these specific, what we call life events, your divorces, your probates, and all that stuff? So what we're going to do
okay.
is we're going to allow you to really slim down your marketing, focus your marketing towards your client target base, and then get more listings and more listing appointments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yep, definitely makes sense. And so then you had all these people calling in. I guess after Sean Terry did a podcast with you or something along those lines, and you're like, "Holy smokes, what's going on here? I want to
Yeah.
dip my feet into this." Or like, where did you finally say, you know what, I'm going to try to get my first deal, or I'm going to try to put this together, or how did that come together for you?
Well, I went to a lot of Sean Terry events over the first couple of years after knowing him, and I was always, I guess, afraid. I was comfortable in that position I was building at Rebo Gateway, and I was used to that paycheck. I was afraid to take the leap. I got invited to a Tom Kroll event, Wholesaling Inc. event, and that's where I saw Brent Daniels talk about the talk to people, the TDP, and
Was
I
that
just
a
thought to
Utah
myself,
event?
I'm like, well, the guy makes $1 million on the phone. I've been on the phone for 20 years. I can do that. So went back home, and me and my wife, we got a Mojo dialer. We got some data from Rebo. We plopped up with a big fold-up table in front of the big screen and just started dialing.
Wow,
And
just exactly like you were doing with your other job, but now you were calling homeowners.
right, exactly. And a lot of things I've heard through all the time of working at Rebo and people is tell everybody what you do. So I started telling people that I wholesale some houses, and my actual first deal was a relative of mine that I never talked to before. I mean, or if I did, it was when I was like maybe 2. But she needed to sell her mom's house in Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And I'm like going, okay, great. I got someone. Okay, I don't know anybody in Pennsylvania. What do I do here? Right. So
A
I reached
virtual
out to
deal
Chad.
to start.
Yeah. So I reached out to Chad Bartlett,
Oh
who
yeah,
I met
Chad. Yeah.
through Repo. I think I actually met him at a Sean Terry event too. But I said, hey, look, man, I got this contract. She wants 10 grand. I mean, I don't know what I can sell it with. Well, what can you do? So he said, just send it to me. I say, I just want like $2,500. That'd be a good first deal, And he sent me back like a couple hours later. Hey, man, I sold it for 14 grand. You're only getting 2, but hey, I got it all done. I was like, wow, that's easy. And then like a week later, I got a check for 2 grand, or 2 weeks later, I got a check for 2 grand. It was sweet. So then I
Easy,
knew,
right?
okay, I gotta start getting more doing this, and kind of letting the Rebo down a little bit until I finally came here and went full time.
Well, what's pretty amazing about this, right, is a lot of people are listening and they're still working their jobs. They're still trying to figure out what they want to do with their lives. They kind of been dipping their toes and their fingers into the real estate thing, and they really haven't taken it full blown action in it yet. And
Right.
you pointed out you were really comfortable doing what you were doing, right? Because
Yeah.
you had that you knew that that next paycheck was coming. It wasn't an unknown to you. It was something that was just really, really easy, right? So
Exactly.
for you that are listening, go ahead and comment. Are you guys still in a job? Are you full-time or part-time? There you go. That's an easy one. Just comment part-time or full-time. I'm just curious where you guys are at in your businesses. But John, got immersed into wholesaling because obviously he was selling the data that wholesalers were getting. And then Sean Terry came into the picture, and you're seeing these checks at the seminars, and then Brent Daniels and Tom Kroll and all that. And you finally, and then you got your relative contacted you and said they had a deal out there, and you basically wholesaled it, I guess is what you would say. Got a referral fee off of it. And was the rest history at that point, or you got that check, or then what happened from there?
Well, I got that check, and I'm like, okay, so we kept. Now that was a little easier of a find, I guess, because my family member came to me. But we kept pounding away cold calling, and I went on some appointments, and I learned in the fire. We ended up closing probably another 2 deals prior to me coming out here. Now, when I came here, the reason I came here is because my partner now was calling Rebo for data. And
Okay.
I was in Arizona. I was going to do a call center there. And I was talking about that. He said,
Call
well, I
center
have
for Rebo or call center for
no
real estate?
real estate.
Oh, okay.
I told him what my goals were. I'm like, because we talked a little bit about it. And he told me what he was doing. I always dug into what my clients were doing. I like to find out their business because that's how I learned. But he had a guy calling and he had an office. He said, come out here and, and spin the wheels and let's start a business. So, I came out here and probably about a month and a half after getting here, we started full time. That was April of last year. And we probably did about 70 deals in the last 12 months. All cold
Wow.
calls.
70 deals over the last 12 months, just straight up cold calling.
Yeah, just cold call. We don't do anything. We've tried PPC and pay per click. SEO, but we just weren't getting anywhere.
And this is in Clark County.
Clark County. Yeah, we actually do Clark County. We do Idaho, and we do San Antonio.
Okay. Wow. So again, virtual in those aspects, which is pretty awesome. So as you guys are listening to this, go ahead and comment. I'm going to continue talking to John, obviously, here, but comment what your questions are about this. I mean, we just heard he's got a cold calling operation, 70 deals in the last 12 months, which is absolutely amazing. Somebody who was in the data business, but then realized how they could really get the data to work for them. So let's talk about that a little bit more when it comes to your business and getting those 70 deals, right? So you're using the Mojo dialer, is that right?
Yeah, correct. I had the Mojo triple dialer. I took a little bit of a different approach when I started, and it's kind of weird because when I was at Rebo, I really focused on the niche stuff, the divorce, all that stuff. But when I started here, I'm thinking that if I focused on that, the volume wouldn't be there enough to have a full staff of multiple callers. So what I did is I took a little bit more of a broad approach. My target zip codes, the hottest zip codes, 10 years owned, our 10-year
Talk
built or
about
more.
that real quick. What do you mean by the hottest zip codes?
The ones where the most cash transactions took place last year or in the last 3 months.
So are you doing that based on just pure volume of transactions, or are you even looking at it from a standpoint of profitability? I've heard it looked at two different ways. So I used to look at it purely from an action standpoint. These are where all the last deals happen. It's a hot happening zip code, right? Mm-hmm. However, what I've found is a lot of those cheaper or a lot of those high transaction areas are war zones and junker type things. So what I've found is the zip codes with the least amount of profitability, like meaning where people are paying the most,
are the ones where the most deals are happening.
Are the ones where are the best places to target because you can actually pay more for the deal. People will pay more for the deals and will do the deals for less profit than the higher profitability areas, which actually end up in my area tending to be the war zones. So so you were just doing that based on volume?
Yeah, I was in that where what shares had the most transactions last year, but you're right. Now what I've been looking at is more of the what I call them the B levels, right? Not the ones where all the activity happens, not the ones where there's nothing there, but the middle area, right? The little ones where, you're right. And since I've done that, I've seen a little uptick in our profit per deal.
Interesting, huh?
So it's funny that you do mention that because I did look at that because we had over the last 12 months, we had 600,000 or however many records. We had the whole valley.
Yeah.
Right. So, for me to say, okay, well, let's call it again. Where is going to be the best place to start? Now, I have the top ones. I know which one are my honey holes. Yeah. And I know there's some hotter ones, but the secondary, the tertiary, the other ones, those are the ones I've started targeting more. And once I get a deal in there, then I blast right around it.
Awesome. That's really cool. So you were targeting those hot zip codes based on activity. And even though you did it this way, you still had 70 deals in 12 months, which is absolutely amazing, right?
Well, I think the benefit of doing what we did is I had the volume. I went guns to the wall. I put everything out there and I just hired 6 people. Right. And we were doing a lot of volume, but I think we were finding
local,
a lot of people.
US based people.
Yeah. All in-house.
Okay.
Yeah. All in-house. I think doing that broad reach helped us to not find or to find people that weren't on the niche lists, whereas everybody's calling the tax delinquent, the divorce, the probate. But what about Joe and Jane that's 72 years old and don't want to make that last trip out to Texas or to Las Vegas because they're too old?
Right.
They're not on a list. They might be on a senior list.
Right.
But that's still pretty broad. So
those aren't really highly trafficked lists. And even if they are being hit, it's just not as much, right? Because if you're a tax delinquent, it's amazing. Like, you're in the data business, right? Mm-hmm. It's amazing how easy it is to access a lot of these things that a lot of people didn't know about anymore. Sure. So it's so crucial that you get good at using your own data and being a ninja with it, right? Like I actually went down to the city. Some people saw me at Post, and I took a picture in front of my courthouse and said, "Hey, there's gold in here, right?" And you could download records from the city directly from the city for like $100, that you would normally have to pay a lot of money for. But if you become a ninja with your own data in your own city, I mean, that's where you really separate yourself.
Well, and they always say the best deals come from the hardest data to get. What's the hardest data to get? The data that you refine down yourself, whether it's going to a courthouse or just breaking down your own number. I mean, I literally went at one point and I broke down every hour, every day, what was the most profitable time to call.
Oh, so man, I love you.
10 to noon. That's awesome. 10 to noon is not a good time, so let's train. Or let's do some driving for dollars.
So I'm curious, what did you find out from your research there?
Oh, I have a lot of. It's just. I mean, I look at a page. I found out that Mondays are not that great. Maybe
Mondays are not a good call day.
Yeah, maybe in the afternoon. Tuesdays between 1 and 4, we smash. Just Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Those times we smash. Friday is okay. I thought it'd be a little bit worse, and then Saturday is good when we do that.
Interesting. So that's really cool, guys. You guys appreciate that. Give John a thumbs up here. This is absolutely awesome information. I mean, from a call standpoint. Okay, so you narrow down your zip codes. You get your zip codes together. However you're going to do it, whether it's based on volume or profitability. And for those of you that are listening, comment, how do you do that? Do you guys do it based on profitability or volume? And when I say profitability, I mean the least amount of profit that you see investors are making. And then let us know about that. So you get your zip codes, and then from there, now you're getting the list. Now, where are you getting the list from?
The list is Rebo Gateway. I was using.
You're just straight up getting it from Rebo Gateway.
Well, I was still working with Rebo Gateway for the first 4 months of doing this business.
Okay.
So I was still using that data, and they're okay with me using it, but that's what I did because it was so broad. I could do the same thing with ListSource at 3 cents a record or whatever I get. But yeah, I just use Rebo and it worked well.
So you get Rebo Gateway. And what kind of list from Rebo Gateway are you getting?
Well, when I did the zip codes, I did someone who owned the property for a minimum of 5 years, built 10 years or more, assessed value. I think the median at the time when I was pulling was around 279, so 279 or less. Not corporate owned. I didn't deal with corporate ones. And if I did do any, like if I did add in like any divorces or stuff, then I'll hike up the equity. But normally equity for me is set at 30% or more.
So you're a data guy, right? And you'll probably appreciate this. We just got a contract yesterday on a property that actually there's an LLC on the property, right? Something I normally wouldn't target, but she found me online. And the interesting thing that I got from this is, right? She's like, you know what? I said, because I almost was like, we were almost a little reticent to even go on the appointment because it was an LLC. But she was like, no, that was just something my attorney set up. I was thinking this is a professional house buyer. So what I would say is if you go in your properties, right, and pull out the LLCs, look for maybe the older LLCs and only the LLCs that only show up like one time. And that's not a bad list to hit because these people are probably not being hit. Everybody's like, no, stay away from LLCs, right?
Well, too, and it's funny you say that because I've been doing lead Sherpa a lot too. And one guy I was talking to about the property, he's like, he wanted more. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work for me. But if you have any other properties, well, actually I do. You won't find it. It's in an LLC.
Ah, okay.
Right. So then I got that. But I get what you're saying, that if you do find those older ones that maybe only have Yeah, one listing shows up. That might be a pretty good list that is untouched.
Interesting.
You're right.
So you stayed away from the niche lists and you're hitting the broader big lists and doing consistently, which is really, really important, right? Because what I found with the niche lists, even when you're calling or texting like you're talking about, you can really blow through these lists like that, right? And
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's like Napoleon. You have no more worlds to conquer. Right? You sit there and cry.
Well, and because of Rebo and all the lists I pulled for everybody, I knew where the battle level ends.
Right.
You know what I mean, on certain things, and I knew that if I really wanted to go and have the volume I wanted to have, then I have to have the broad. I have to take the broad stroke. Now,
Right.
I was very, very fortunate. I inherited a kick ass acquisitions guy that knows the area. He's been here for a while. I mean, so that helped me coming in here because I didn't know anything.
Okay.
And I guess how that can correlate to people that are new is don't be afraid to reach out to someone in your market to help really know the market, because that's going to accelerate your knowledge. And don't be afraid to do a deal or two with someone else to get it going. Half of something is better than all of nothing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's absolutely right.
That's my advice.
You have to find your strengths in this business and play to your strengths. And then your weaknesses, you really got to find somebody that can do that for you, right? Because when we are looking for sellers, whether it's outbound calling or sending direct mail pieces or online or text, whatever it is, time and money is what it takes to get those leads, right? So if you absolutely suck at closing and meeting people and talking and carrying on a good conversation,
find someone else it is.
You might as well get somebody else to do that for you as fast as humanly possible, because if you're just not good at that, you're going to get really frustrated. Very
put your head against the wall too much, and it's gonna kill it. And that, for when I started to come here and I started to look at, okay, well, let me break down the areas. Where do I want to start? Of these zip codes, which are the better ones? And I can go drive them all, but I have a guy here that knows the area. He knows what streets I don't want to touch.
Leverage.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and that's his strength. He knew the area, so if I don't know it, I'm going to use him, and that's a huge point for anybody that's getting into this, is leverage someone else's strengths if you don't got it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Brian Salmons, how you doing, man? He says LLC, aka Tired Landlords, have been huge for us. So keep that in mind. That's another resonating thing here that's making sense, from what I just said about the deal we got under contract and, what you're talking about. So definitely employ that. I appreciate that, Brian. That was good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for reinforcing that. So, okay. So now you get your lists together. I would assume you're skip tracing these lists.
Yes. Yeah. We were using, last year we were using IDI. We were getting
your own account with them?
We did have our own account with them. Yes.
You did.
Yeah. We stopped using them. When I started using Lead Sherpa, and I heard a lot about it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I mean, my first 5 batches were 88. One was 87%. Everything else was 92% or more. So I'm like, this is great. It's all the same system, and it migrates real easy. So we just started using them, and it's just been a lot better.
Cool.
Yeah.
And for you guys that are listening too, you're looking for a skip trace solution, check out reiskiptrace.com. reiskiptrace.com.
I heard they're great as well.
Really good service, really good lists as well. Okay, so now you skip traced them. What separates between what you're calling or texting, or how are you doing that?
Well, ideally, we like to call first. I like to go through the list first. Now, what I've been doing is I'll load up my blanket lists, but on the niche stuff, I'll actually text first, and then I'll flip them around. So once I've gone through a call list, then I'll go text the list, and then once I've texted the list, then I'll call the list. So we like to do one or the two, but on the broad stuff is call first. On the niche stuff is text first.
How many times are you trying to call one list?
At least 6 times.
At least 6 times. So 6 attempts.
Yeah.
So where the Mojo indicator says 6 on there.
Well, we're not using Mojo anymore. We at the beginning of the year, we actually dumped Mojo for call tools.
You do call tools.
Call tools is great, and it's funny because we started hearing a lot of lag in Mojo. Where people weren't talking. There lag between connections. So and we have a guy that was pretty solid 2 to 3 a day, right? And his was dropping down a lot. So when the first day we used call tools, he went up to like 7 appointments or 7 leads that day. It's
Wow.
because he was talking more, right? He had the repetition going down. He was in his flow. Because when you're not, especially if you're doing phone stuff,
Oh
the longer
yeah.
you sit,
It's
you're
a
gonna get
momentum thing, right?
yeah, right. So his voice would be down a little bit more because been a minute. Whereas when he's talking, he's continually going. And he's just up and he had a great call and he's pumped and that type of thing. So I
So you
think
just jumped right in with the call center, by the way. You basically opened up your own little local call center and have people on the phones. That's
yeah,
basically what you're doing.
yeah, popped an ad on Indeed and hired people.
So that was the quickest way to do it. You went to Indeed, said I'm looking for for somebody to make calls, or basically a cold caller, and just you went from there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you picked up 6 people doing that.
Yeah.
And you're paying them what?
Well, at one point I was paying 13, 16 an hour.
Wow.
But I felt then I kind of tried it and I hired someone at $10 an hour.
Okay.
The $10 an hour was the same as the $16 an hour. So all my $16 an hour guys either took a pay cut or left.
Okay.
So
okay.
That's the hard part about a call center is I have cycles that you do have a lot of turnover.
Oh, yeah.
Right? This is not for everybody. I'm used to this because this has been what I've done for 20 years. So I'm used to seeing and dealing with it. But once we really got down to that core group and, really focused, we got some really, really good people right now that are killer on the phone. And especially my lead and my acquisitions guys. I mean, I was blessed to really be able to find this team to make that happen. That 70 deals is not me. I was on 3 appointments in the whole year. Right. So that's my guys. But,
awesome.
so I definitely owe it to them, but I couldn't have done it.
That's awesome. So you get somebody on the phone. How are you evaluating those leads? Like from the standpoint of, you're on the phone with somebody, let's say they want full price for the house, but they have some kind of underlying motivation. Are you going out to the house on the appointment? Are you making an offer over the phone? What does that look like?
Yeah, we're doing most of our stuff, almost 90, I'd probably say almost 95% of our stuff over the phone.
95% over the phone.
We're offering a range, you know what I mean? Because in Vegas, we have a pretty good idea of what Zillow, if it's right or not. We also have MLS access. But when we get into areas like Idaho and San Antonio, we just kind of have to rely on our boots on the ground guys saying that, hey, this area is Zillow's 20 grand high. So what we'll do is we'll say, let's say that it was 100 grand for the property. Hey, look, we've been buying that area between 40 and 70 grand. It really depends on the condition. I mean, if it's something that you're interested, if I'm in the ballpark, we'd like to maybe come and take a look from my virtual stuff because we don't know as well. But here, if they're anywhere in that ballpark, and then we'll just start hammer down. Okay, what number do I need to be at? Because I know if I buy it at 72% or lower, I can sell it in that zip code at 79% or more.
Okay.
So
wow.
we know the numbers.
I just had Jared Vanellis on yesterday. Great call, by the way. And he had mentioned that they're selling at 85% AR of the ARV. And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah. Not in my area.
Yeah, not many areas at all. And, we've been hovering right about 78, 79% last year.
And what does Idaho look like for you? Same?
Idaho's been really good. We've had to lay back on our callers a little bit. So we haven't been putting a lot of Idaho. But Idaho, I can tell you the exact number we're selling at, but I know it's relatively a little bit higher.
So give me an idea of what your speech would be like for somebody when you're making an offer over the phone. You've got to a point where you've made that offer. And now a lot of them might be expecting, oh, good, you're going to set up an appointment, you're going to come meet me, and we're going to do this thing, right? But now you're talking to the person and you're walking them to the point of getting that contract over the phone and then setting it up for you to get involved with the property a little bit further as you're going through your inspection or however you have that set up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, ideally, when we get to the point of we know that we're agreed upon a price, I mean, we'll just say, well, we can make it easy on you. We can do a quick DocuSign. You can do electronic signature. The next step for us will be to push it over to title. Title's going to run a prelim on the property to make sure before we buy it. And then they'll be in contact with you. You don't really need to sign anything. I would like to come over here within the next 2 or 3 days and take a picture or two of the property. Do a quick little one through if that's okay. But if they don't have to do a live signature. They can DocuSign it, so we don't even have to go over there. And sometimes we're dealing with the landlords, right? So we'll just, and we've had people send us pictures. we never even went to a property.
Send you what?
Pictures.
Pictures,
Well,
yeah.
the tenant take pictures or the seller take pictures. Yeah.
Okay.
For us.
Okay. So at that point, then you've got the contract, and now we move obviously into whether you're going to buy or keep something or choose to assign it. And if you're choosing to assign it, what does that look like as far as your disposition side, if you will?
We assign 100%. We don't do anything. We wholesale everything.
You wholesale everything.
We tried one lipstick type of flip at the beginning of last year, but yeah, that didn't work too well. So so once I get that agreement, I have a group of buyers that I built good relationships with that I know if I send it to them, they'll probably buy it if it's a good deal, or if it's not a good deal, they'll tell me why before I send it out to my buyers list. Right. So my 8 guys are normally, the ones that will say, hey, look, if it's not a deal here, but you might want to be closer to here. Right.
So
even if they can't buy it, they'll still tell me.
8 buyers? Is that what you're telling me?
No, my main 8 buyers. No. I have a lot more than that. No. My main 8 guys I send it to first as kind of like my prelim. Hey, they're going to either offer me the most or they're going to tell me what I need to do to make it a deal.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, but no, I think I have 500 or 600 in my buyers list.
So are you doing a massive showing type of thing, or are you?
We don't do showings. No, I've adopted something that I learned from Brad Chandler.
Yeah,
I heard on a podcast. I do buy now pricing on my contracts, so I'll do a suggested price of $195. Buy now at $202.
Okay,
so that's going to take off the anybody who buys it. There's no showing. There's no nothing. I think we maybe did 1 or 2 showings last year.
Really?
Everything was done.
Out of 70 deals, you only had that. You had only 1 or 2 showings. So everything. Yeah. So are these people buying them sight unseen?
No, that in our pictures.
Wow. So they're not even like, man, I got to get in and see it.
No, not really. Not until after they've signed the agreement, the assignment. Wow. Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Interesting. Okay. And as far as your business is set up, I mean, we pretty much went through your data collection, your acquisitions to your dispositions. Do you have any really cool systems that you work with that you're like, man, this is a game changer for me? Whether you learned it from somebody else or came up with it yourself?
Well, I mean, lately it's been the lead Sherpa text thing. I mean, I have, and it made so much sense that not everybody's going to pick up the phone all the time. And some people do prefer to text because they're too busy. And, we've actually got a lot of great response. I think I started about a month ago. We've closed already 2 or 3 deals off of it.
And this is to just your broadcast older people list type thing?
I just went through some of the more niche stuff that we pulled out last year because I wanted to try it first. And then it just started doing really well. So I just kept going on it.
What's your favorite niche stuff?
My favorite would be the tax stuff or the water stuff.
Water stuff. So you can get water shut off.
Huh? Like water shut off liens? Yeah.
Water shut off. Yeah. In my area, they try to block that because of privacy or,
Yeah.
FOIA doesn't work with them as much. Did you have a hard time getting that or?
Yeah, it wasn't easy. See, and that's another thing when I try to go after this niche stuff. It's like if I want to get all the water shut off in my favorite zip codes, 89110, 89132. Well, guess what? I've called everybody in that list. And if they're interested, they're probably in my database already being on drip.
Right.
So for me to switch focus on calling any of those, I really haven't put the effort in. That's another reason why I think Sherpa's helping me on those, because I can text them first.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I can try to extract the text out quicker and get them out of that, then wait through that big list to call them. You know what I mean? To find them.
So you will text. I think
Sherpa for me is the latest game changer. Yeah.
So you will text first, take that database and say, okay, these people responded. We're going to move them over here into the calling and so forth.
Well, actually, what I'll do is I'll take the people that responded. I will put them into Podio. I'll once I extract that list or before I put it in the call, I'll take those people out. But no, I'll call everybody again, even people that said don't call me.
Oh, really? Okay, so say that one more time. As far as you're texting people first, or
so
no?
I'll text them, and let's say I have 10 people that I put into Podio, Okay. Before I load that list of people into the calling part of it, I'll get rid of those 10 off the list because obviously I don't want to call someone that's already in my podium. I've already followed up with.
Okay.
But otherwise, if someone says, not interested in selling, well, it's usually a month in between the text and the call. Yeah, I'll call them again. So I'll just load up that whole list and the ones that were in Podio, I'll call everybody else.
What if they're like don't ever contact me again, do not call?
And we put them on the DNC.
Okay, so you won't hit those people up again.
No, if someone's really that adamant about it, like F off your list, you effing people, they call FTC and SEC and FBI and CPA. Well, we'll take them off. I mean, I do understand.
3-letter agencies there. Have you had some people come at you with that?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
Oh wow,
a lot of people. I mean, not a lot, but
how do you handle that?
I mean, what's that?
How do you handle that when those come across?
Oh, I John Martinez them. Hey, look, I sincerely apologize. I truly never meant to offend you by any means. Reaching out to simple homeowners. Please don't be offended. I'll take your name off our list. And I've had people go back. You know what? I'm sorry. I just get these things all day long, and I really didn't mean it directed to you.
So you do the kill them with kindness, essentially.
I do, yeah. I call it the John Martinez.
Okay. Well, that's good. What are your goals coming up here?
Well, I mean, I want to hit 100 deals for the year. I think that's very reasonable. Eventually, I'm starting to look into private money, and I want to start doing some rentals.
Okay.
I don't know about here in Vegas. I think maybe more in the Midwest. But that's kind of my goal. But I'm just refining my systems. All last year, I really was massive action. Really, people would always ask me about my numbers, and I had no idea.
Yeah.
Not until like the end of the year, I really started to rope them in a little bit and get that understanding. You know what I mean? So when I started this year, I figured I can really revise things. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to run better, not bigger now.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% there with you because it's interesting, right? A lot of people focus on trying to get so big and get all these team members and all this kind of stuff. But meanwhile, that ups your overhead, right? So your overhead starts to go up, profitability starts to go down. I think there's a spot of like diminishing returns, when you start to get so big at this point and it's just like, I really can't do much more than this because whatever the volume isn't there or just whatever it is in your market, there's a spot where there's diminishing returns and things start to fall apart, So
I saw some questions over here. Real quick, Kyle, do we he says, do you give them an inspection period after you sign it to them? Yeah. I mean, they usually have their 7 days, but once again, my buyers, the ones I had a buyer be okay with the seller taking out the inspection clause. He was okay with it because he's like, you know what? I trust you. I believe it. So it's really our buyers, but yes, they do have an inspection time.
Those markets out there are really interesting, right? Because it just seems like you and Jared out in Phoenix and whatever markets he's in, it's like these people don't care. They don't want to even see the inside of the property just because of the cookie cutter type stuff that you've going on, which is really interesting. And one thing I just remembered as well, buyer wise, right? What's your contract? How are you going to, how do you present the deal or the contract to other buyers? Are you finding a bunch of buyers? What's your system for that?
Say that again. You're kind of breaking.
Are you finding buyers like? Are you looking for people that have recently bought in the area and then hitting them up, or what's your system for finding buyers?
Yeah, we've done that. We've done that when we know we're going to get a property on contract. We'll look on the MLS and we'll see who's buying what. We can see some of that information, and I know a couple of them that I literally before we got it on contract, I called them and said, "Hey, would you pay this for this?" Yeah, boom, done. Just because we knew that he was buying it, right? Yeah, I try to plot map, where obviously we know where all of our deals are. So I try to talk to my buyers too and ask them, yes, Antonio, you missed your shot out. Sorry, it's my acquisitions guy.
That's your acquisitions guy?
So I try to know where they're buying because if I get a condo in an area and I know someone's going to, I know which buyer might buy that or stuff like that.
Okay. All right. And you're reaching out to them individually? Or
I tried to, like, we sent one out. We sent one out yesterday that I think we might have been too high on the price. So, now I'm going to start reaching out to them individually and to some of them, talk to them and say, hey, where do I need to be? I did do a couple of them.
Jeremy just asked, are you are you doing deals in Georgia? Nope, I am not doing deals in Georgia.
Nope, me neither. Look for a gentleman named TJ Jones. TJ Jones. He was actually on here a minute ago, but TJ Jones, he's in Georgia.
Is he your buddy?
TJ Jones, yeah, I've known him. I met him through the Wholesaling Inc. We're in an accountability group together.
Okay.
But yeah, he's in Georgia. I think he's in Augusta or maybe Atlanta. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, you can post on that, TJ, if you're still watching. Just let us know where you're in. Daniel Baird says, David, war zones are houses that look like a bomb dropped and houses are falling apart. No, actually,
that's true. That's war zone.
Doesn't actually mean that. War zone means those areas that there's a lot of drug traffic, a lot of crime and stuff like that. Spots where you might feel like you might want to wear a bulletproof vest walking down the street, essentially.
Or you don't go into an appointment at night.
Or you don't want to go to an appointment at night. Or you wouldn't want to send your wife and kids on a pleasant stroll throughout the neighborhood at any hour of the day. That's where a war zone is. Jeremy asked, are you still using Rebo or using PropStream as well? You're using Rebo, right?
I'm using both actually now. I'm actually using some PropStream as well.
Yeah. I like PropStream. I've actually got a link here you guys can check out if you're interested.
I was going to put my link. Just kidding. Go ahead. I like PropStream. I like PropStream because I think it's more accurate than looking at like Zillow and stuff.
Well, the data is updated, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's great.
Matt says, are you seeing a slowdown in Vegas at all?
We did over the end of the year, beginning of this year. For us, it slowed down a lot, but I think we're starting to see an uptick. I think the problem here in Vegas, this is my opinion. I've talked to a couple guys. I had breakfast with a realtor the other day. I think here, people are worried about an impending quote unquote correction.
Yeah.
If you look on the MLS, there's probably over 5,000 properties on the MLS, and a lot of them would be what you would think would be a wholesale deal. Right. And I think what they're doing, and once again, this is my opinion, is I think they're putting it on the MLS saying, hey, if I get an offer, great, I'll take it. It's more than I ever thought I'd get. I don't have to do anything. But if it sits there for 700 days, who cares? I don't need to sell, right? So I think that's what people are doing, and it's going to hurt them in the long run, because when they are actually want to sell, means, how come it's sat for 700 plus days?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like you said, like with PropStream and stuff, it shows like the active days on market and inventory levels and all that stuff. That stuff's huge, guys. I mean, that alone is a reason to check that out. That really helps you keep a pulse on what's going on the market for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I love that. And in my area, it's interesting, right? We've got inventory is still low right now, right? But it seems like buyers are not buying as much, but inventory is still low. It's kind of an interesting phase that we're in. But it's not something that we're recently scaled back on a lot of new construction. I used to have a bunch of new construction, 15, 20 projects going at one time. And I've kind of scaled back on that and kind of evaluating things. I didn't, if there was going to be a market correction, I didn't want to get caught with a bunch of new construction.
Sure, right. Yeah.
Let's see. Jeremy says, I'd love to schedule a one-on-one call with you. Efficiency is key. Yeah, man. Check it out. Yeah, we'll post a link on there, Jeremy, if you want a scheduled strategy session. I guess I do have an accelerator program where I help people get going who are looking to get started in the business and also start looking at this business a little bit differently. Like we were talking about, data is key. Efficiency is key. Learning how to evaluate your market and understand where the demand is. We kind of talked about looking at cash buyer zip codes as based on profitability as opposed to activity, which is a really big thing there. Those are things that I talk about in with my students in the accelerator program as well. So if you guys are interested in scheduling a strategy session with me, you can do that. I'll drop a link for you guys to check that out as well. Let's see.
Any other questions in here?
Adam says, good to see you both. I met John through J. Paul Mills, and it was a huge benefit for our business. 80,000 in assignments under contract in 30 days. Wow, that's awesome, wow. Adam.
Nice, Adam.
And he is a big cold caller himself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I believe. Yes. And by the way, what does your team look like right now? You have how many callers and how many acquisitions? And
I'm down to I have 3 callers.
3 callers.
We actually are now trying out our first VA.
Just start,
yeah, for cold calling.
Okay.
I'm looking at it as maybe a cost-effective stance. From what I've seen so far, I have a really hard time not having that control of that person to know what they're saying. I can listen all day long on call tools and then bargain on calls, but that's not what I want to do. You know what I mean? When I have my guys here, I can hear what they're saying while I'm still doing all my other work. So right now I have 3 in-house cold callers. I have a lead manager and I have an acquisitions manager.
Okay. It's interesting, right? Because you almost need, like for me, I had a fairly a small operation going on with the cold calling. And what I found is that a lot of people, say, yes, we want to sell, right? And they give a number, right? But you need, after the VA talks to these people, you need somebody else to go in and continue the conversation, right? But what's interesting and what I found out, because I hired a lead manager after that, I kind of slowed down the operation and had a lead manager go in and handle every single one of those calls that came in, every lead, if you will. And you know what I found out? The people that appeared hot to the VA, that they checked the box, hot lead, were the hot leads. All the warm and the colds were the warm and the colds. So it was almost like it really wasn't worth going after these people if there wasn't some kind of underlying motivation that brought that lead to a warm or a hot, as opposed to trying to create, trying to make these leads turn into deals somehow. It really wasn't.
Well, it's the 4 pillars of qualifying. It's the timeline, condition, price, and motivation.
Yeah,
I mean, you get those out of people, and in my opinion, I think a lead is if someone's going to answer questions that you're asking them, there's some type of interest, thought, consideration, something there, because if they really weren't interested, they would just blow you off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why we also put in our script, we tell people, hey, look, I need a few minutes. I'm going to ask some questions about the property. If you're not interested, tell me. Say no.
So you pull it away right away.
Yeah, I'll do the same thing to you. You know what I mean? But if we're cool, I'd like to kind of talk about the next step. Is that fair? So I learned that through John Martinez, to set up a call that way. Once they did that, so if anybody's listening, you set up a call that way, give them an out. And if they say, okay, and keep going, there's a little bit more interest than just I'm curious. Sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But as long as they have the out, and if they're going to willing to proceed with you that way, it's a lead.
Yeah.
You just got to now, you got to develop the motivation. You got to cultivate the why. What benefit? Where are they at? Where is their point versus their end point versus where their pain is right now? Make that gap as big as possible.
I was talking to Tom Kroll the other day, actually, and him and I were going back and forth. And he was like, my lead manager seems like he's working, not really being able to get the price out of them and stuff like that, right? Like higher price. And I told him, I said, focus on the when, right? Focus on the when. When do they want to sell it? Because the when will uncover the why, and the why will uncover the what, which is the price, right? So if there's some kind of timeline there, that's almost more important than the price they're asking, and even sometimes the why. That when uncovers the why, and the why then uncovers the what. It's just a very simple formula to go through in order to figure out if you're really working with somebody that you're gonna, that's worth focusing on.
Well, and also too, I think a lot of people disqualify early on price. I was talking to Cody Hoffline out in Utah at his office, and I think that's kind of what we were doing. Is if someone says, I want 250, and Zillow says 230.
Yeah,
we're not too far over. if there's more of a motive, and they might put that up as a front, right? They're putting up a shield.
Yes.
Yeah, I want this much because you're not going to pay that much, so they're going to hang up the phone. Okay, so what if we ever pay that much? What does tomorrow look like? How is this going to benefit you?
Yeah, that's
I give you money's not the price. Money's not the issue. If money it can solve all your issues, then you don't really have an issue.
Right.
It's my
absolutely.
So and once we take taking that stance with people is so much. It makes conversations flow so much better.
It really does. It really does. Here's some more questions. Hey John, do you do any direct mail or cold calling only? Jeremy,
100% cold call.
100% cold call,
100%.
no mail.
No mail at all. No mail, no SEO or PPC, nothing.
Jeremy also says you're correct. A lot of cash buyers in my area are contracting, closing, minimal cleanup, and listing on MLS to wholesale to other investors who are paying up to 85% of the ARV, and they're selling. Wow. Yep. So, John, are you being impacted at all by Zillow instant offers or anything like that?
No, not at all. I mean, I hear some people say, we went open door, but I tell them, all right, so I'll talk to you in a couple months. Because it's not going to sell at the open door price, and something's going to end, and you're going to come back. And I already had one person come back who told me open door last year.
Yeah. Wow. That's interesting. A lot of people are like, oh no, they're going to be offer, in my area. I'm dead. The business is over. But no, that's definitely not.
Yeah, no, there's not, like I said, I always looked at it in Phoenix, if there's so many people doing so many deals, making so much money, I don't care who comes in here, there's going to be deals to be done. It's a matter of your marketing, your consistency, and, and how you work with sellers.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, if you have any more questions, you can post them here. I'll just mention one more time. If you are interested in a strategy session when it comes to getting your business going, with my REI accelerator, you can we'll post a link and you can just apply there, and we'll talk and see if it's a fit, and if not, no big deal. If it is, great. We'll be working with you. So I think we are done here. I think we hit all the different points about your business, as well as your some great accomplishments that you've made. Hopefully, a lot of people identify with that. And see, if anybody can do it, if I can do it, anybody can do it, right? I mean, it's just a matter of really taking that massive action. And I guess we can leave on this note: is any advice that you have to somebody that's just trying to get started, or is kind of stuck? What would you say?
Just do it. Massive action. I mean, that's like I said, that's what got me. I mean, I could have done that analysis paralysis stuff and learned and waited and got the perfect CRM and perfect website and perfect everything. And just do it. Just jump on the phone and call, or just throw mail out there and talk to people. The only way you're going to get better is by talking to sellers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that.
The rest will come, guys. I did not know my numbers for 12 months or 8 months of my 12 months of business. You don't need to know those right away. Just start doing things. Make the money. The stuff will come. Leverage your contacts, leverage your relationships, and learn.
So one more thing with that too. You're trying to get better, not bigger, right?
Yes.
What were some things you're trying to work on there to do that?
Refining our targets, where we're hitting, refining our processes, make sure that we have things a little bit more streamlined, just to kind of get it more predictable. You know what I mean? Not the hard part with wholesaling is purely wholesaling. Is that I'm only as good as my last deal. You know what I mean? I don't have that residual income coming in like a landlord does or something like that. So we really got to be consistent and have that predictable, focused income, and know our numbers to say, well, if I get 35 to 40 leads, I'm going to have a deal. Right? Knowing that.
Yeah. And that does make that super predictable. I mean, that's one of the things I do in my program. The first thing I do with people is we set them up with, we've got a direct mail calculator as well as a cold calling calculator, and we plug numbers into it. And based on your conversion, and there's a lot of different conversion ratios that people get stuck on. I'll probably do a video on that a little bit more, but basically a lot of people, right? So you've got calls that come in, but then from those calls, you got to turn those calls into leads. And then from those leads, you got to turn those into appointments or offers or however you're going to do it. And there's a lot of little spots in there that you can get gummed up on, and stuff can fall apart, and where you say, oh, this doesn't work, right? But those are all those things you got to really focus on to getting better, as opposed to having to try to stuff more money into the machine because you're breaking down in those small little spots there where everything really.
Well, and that's what we did last year. I mean, we went, we stuffed the machine full of people and stuffed it with leads. And I mean, law of averages tells me I will get deals.
Yeah.
But also I can look back in hindsight and realize, okay, that money could have been better spent here. Time could have been better focused here, just to make it, once again, a business.
Yeah. Oh, very good. All right. Well, John, hang on when I end the broadcast. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to chat with you a little bit. But other than that, guys, thanks again so much for joining us on this live. I've been trying to be a little bit more consistent with that, doing at least 2 a week. And sometimes we pop in a special guest like John here. So just be watching the group, be watching the Wholesaling House's full-time page, as well as the group. Like it, share it, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
All right. The broadcast is